This is the ceremonial welcome. In fact, that has happened already. Prime Minister Modi is in Cyprus. He received a heartfelt and warm welcome from the Indian diaspora as he arrived for this three-nation tour. He was greeted by the diaspora. Prime Minister Modi is the first ever Indian Prime Minister to visit the Mediterranean nation, and his arrival is being described as a historic moment by both Indian and Indian community and also the diplomacy of this nation. PM Modi is accompanied by a large delegation of around 100 officials, and he will be meeting the President of Cyprus as well. Earlier, Prime Minister was received by the President at the international airport, and he is scheduled to hold delegation level talks with the President of Cyprus. Key issues on the agenda include expanding cooperation in trade and investment. It's also IT, defense, shipping, renewable energy and people-to-people ties, which are high on Prime Minister's agenda. And both these leaders are expected to exchange views on global and regional developments, including maritime security and situation in West Asia. And ahead of his arrival, the Indian diaspora in Cyprus was brimming with excitement. We have Vishal is joining us. Vishal, India and Cyprus have traditionally enjoyed strong traditional and diplomatic relations since the establishment of ties, that was in 1962. And now we are seeing those visuals of Prime Minister Modi becoming the first Indian Prime Minister to arrive in Cyprus for this crucial meeting.
You summed it up pretty well, Maria. So this is a historic visit. In decades, this is the first Prime Minister from India to land in Cyprus and have an extensive meeting with the Indian diaspora there. There are at least about 14 to 15,000 people of Indian origin living in that tiny island nation, which seems to have really good ties with India for a while now. And this is another step in that direction to consolidate those ties, to take those ties to next level. And also, this visit is important because it is also a statement to Turkey, which seemed to have sided with Pakistan in the recent conflict with India, seem to have provided drones, seem to have provided personnel to train Pakistani personnel. So this was also a statement made by India by visiting Cyprus. Cyprus and Turkey have had a long history of fraught relations. So that is what India has been trying to comment on by visiting Cyprus and saying to Turkey that India also has a hold in that region. So it's a significant visit, as we've been talking about throughout the day, that this will build the ties to the next level. There will be several things discussed. Several things have already been discussed, be it shipping industry, be it how to take the ties to the next level. So all of the topics have been discussed, and you can see the pictures live on screen. Prime Minister is there. Now he'll be heading to Canada for the G7 meet, which has its the center in Mid East right now, because whether we like it or not, the war between Israel and Iran has gripped debates across the world. It had originally been thought that Russia-Ukraine war would be having as a center point here, but it's now Israel and Iran.
Right. Vishal, the Prime Minister's visit to Cyprus on the way to the G7 summit is also a message to Turkey, like you rightly pointed out. How is India looking at deepening its ties with the regional allies of Turkey, including Armenia, Egypt and Cyprus? We sent multi-party delegations to the other two countries. The Prime Minister himself is visiting Cyprus today. What kind of a message is Turkey going to get from all of this?
So as I've been talking about, and all of our reporters have been talking about, that the Turkey and Pakistan ties were highlighted in the recent past, especially regarding Op Sindoor, in which a lot of Turkish drones were used, a lot of trainers from Turkey had arrived and provided some help to Pakistan. That's what the report suggested. There's no confirmation on that. So that is how India is trying to turn this and have a say on the world stage when it comes to having a stand that whoever sides with Pakistan will be isolated on the world stage, and India to a large extent has been able to do that, because the delegation that India sent across the world right after Op Sindoor was received with open arms all across the globe. But on the other hand, Pakistan's delegation seemed to have suffered consecutive embarrassments across the globe, whether be it in US and other places where one of the senior most lawmakers in the US questioned Pakistan delegation that first you have to look into yourself, first you look into your own territory by promoting so many terrorist organizations. You have been setting bad examples, so first you look into your territory, then you question India. So it has been pretty successful for India when it comes to reaching out to rest of the nations in the last 1 or 2 months.
Now on the timing of this visit, because Prime Minister is visiting Cyprus, which is a member of the European Union, at a time when it is all set to assume the rotating presidency of the EU, which is early next year. And we have seen an increased trade relations between India and European Union, multiple countries, and now this visit, a first and also a historic one.
That is correct, and as you mentioned, India and EU are looking to have that FTA, that elusive FTA that has been under consideration for a while now. But in the recent past, in the last 1 month or two, there have been several developments on that front. Many reports suggest that there could be an FTA between India and EU in the next 1 year or so, or could be sooner than that. At the same time, India has also signed one FTA with UK that was a former EU nation. So India has been signing EU FTAs and also other agreements with many different nations. Also is the FTA with US, which is likely to be signed in the next 1 year. The first tranche of that agreement will be signed by the fall, by September or October. So there have been many developments on the business front. This will be yet another chapter in that, because as you mentioned, Cyprus will be heading the EU forum for some time. So to establish, to consolidate relations with the country that will be heading EU will definitely augur well for the nation.
It will also help us understand, Cyprus is seen as really rich when it comes to natural gas. What are the other aspects of Cyprus which can be useful to India and other partners when it comes to building relations with Cyprus?
Biggest thing would be the shipping industry in Cyprus, because Cyprus and the neighboring countries are big on shipping. The routes that are connecting these countries to the rest of the world, these are some of the most important routes, especially near the Mediterranean. That tiny stretch of sea sees some of the most busy shipping routes in the world. Some of the most some of the biggest containers pass through these routes. So this will be a key win for India if India is going to sign some shipping agreements with Cyprus and some of the neighboring countries.
Right. Also, Vishal, this is the Prime Minister's first international visit after Operation Sindoor. How is India's fight against terrorism going to be an important part of his three-nation tour? How is the Prime Minister also going to explain India's position and also in some ways garner the kind of support that India needs diplomatically against Pakistan?
Well, India's fight against terrorism, this fight has been, received with open arms across the globe. Just now we spoke about the delegations that were sent by India and Pakistan both. There was a stark contrast between both the delegations. Indian delegation spanned almost all across the globe, was received almost everywhere with open arms, and Pakistan was heavily criticized. So the world is taking notice what India is trying to say about Pakistan, which is clearly the hotbed of terrorism, and that is what the concentration has been, to highlight how Pakistan has been trying to promote terrorism, and also at the same time getting these key positions. Just a few weeks ago, Pakistan was given 2 key positions at the UNSC, which is one of which is the key Taliban Sanctions Committee, and the other one is the The other one also deals with terrorism. So the two key UNSC groups are now headed by Pakistan. So this is a quandary that India needs to counter because Pakistan has strong allies. So the fact that India is trying to highlight Pak's terror angle to the world stage is quite important and has been taken notice of.
Yes, that's right. And Prime Minister Modi is accompanied by a large delegation, which is around of 100 officials, and they are visiting Cyprus on invitation of President Nikos, who is the president of Cyprus. And Prime Minister, during his visit, will be meeting, there'll be delegation level talks with the president. There are key issues on the agenda, which includes expanding cooperation in trade and investment, defense and shipping, as Vishal was highlighting. People-to-people ties again become very important, because as soon as the Prime Minister arrived, there was a huge Indian diaspora which welcomed him. The Prime Minister, remember, had engaged the diaspora and exchanged greetings and acknowledged their support. The diaspora meet has been one of the big highlights of Prime Minister Modi's international tour in the last 11 years. And then there will be business around shipping and other aspects. And these two countries have traditionally enjoyed strong diplomatic relations since the establishment of ties in 1962. What we have seen is Cyprus had consistently supported India's position on Kashmir and other key issues on international platforms, including the United Nations. So that diplomatic, support or strong diplomatic relations which has been there between the two countries, Vishal, becomes important. We can see perhaps the bilateral meetings which have begun between the two countries. The president of Cyprus, Nikos Christodoulidis, that's his name, can be seen along with Prime Minister Modi. Although the Indian community in Cyprus may be small in number, but they play a very, very vital role in local education, healthcare and business sectors. This kind of bonhomie which is on display is essentially reflecting the deep-rooted historic ties between the two nations.
Right, Maria, like you rightly pointed out, Prime Minister Modi's visit to Cyprus is the first by any Indian Prime Minister in 23 years. It's also being viewed, like Vishal said, as a diplomatic signal to Turkey, which in some ways had backed Pakistan when it came to Operation Sindoor. Turkey is, just for the understanding of our viewers, Turkey has occupied 1/3 of the island since 1974. It has backed Pakistan during Operation Sindoor. This is also a diplomatic move by India to send across a message that it has taken note of Turkey's support. Prime Minister's trip is the first trip abroad by him since Operation Sindoor was initiated. It's being seen particularly important in that context, because India also wants to tell the world about how it is a victim of terror and needs to tell the world about the new normal that it has put in place. The Prime Minister is visiting Cyprus at the invitation of the President of Cyprus. He's also, like you rightly pointed out, accompanied by a delegation of over 100 officials, and this is part of his 3-nation tour that will span across 5 days, and it includes Canada for the G7 summit. This is also the first ever visit to Croatia by an Indian Prime Minister, which also then becomes very important. The Cyprus visit, like we were talking about, is significant for diplomatic, economic and geopolitical reasons, and it reflects the growing importance of this part of the world in India's broader and global outlook. Vishal joins us back. Vishal, just for the benefit of our viewers, just sum it up as to how important is the Prime Minister's visit to Cyprus. Why is this country important in the context of Operation Sindoor, and what does this visit entail?
Decided to visit Cyprus is because India wanted to establish, a stance on the global stage that showed that India has its allies in the region, in the same region that is occupied by Turkey. So Turkey is a powerful player in the region, and Turkey went on to help Pakistan in Op Sindoor. It was widely condemned for that. There were many backlash, campaigns against the country. So this establishes the fact that India has a key ally in the region. The fact that PM Modi chose Cyprus as the first foreign nation to visit after Op Sindoor. That itself is a statement and goes on to show how serious India is when it comes to establishing new relations, having new frontiers. That shows that India's influence is growing in the region, and also the fact that one of the two main reasons why India is visiting, PM Modi is visiting there, is also because of the fact that the key defense and shipping ties will be established between India and Cyprus, which is one of the key shipping nations in the world. It's strategically located near the Mediterranean Sea. Many big container ships pass through the waters each day. So it holds great significance when it comes to strategic ties. So that will be looked at, and also as we've been talking about, Op Sindoor was always in the picture because as we mentioned, Turkey went on to help Pakistan. India condemned Pakistan and Turkey both, and through this visit, India has established that India has an ally in the region.
All right. A word also on, as you said, strategically located, and how does it benefit Indian interests, Vishal?
One of the key areas through which ships take containers across the globe. Many big companies across the globe have containers running through through those waters. So if India has an ally in the region, Indian companies could also benefit because some of these regions, such as the Mediterranean Sea region, such as the Strait of Hormuz region, which is quite disturbed at the moment, hold great significance because these small specks of waters have shipping containers across the globe, have passage of ships throughout the year. So these are areas which has the eyes of business leaders across the globe. So India, if goes on to have strong ties in that region, that will definitely augur well for the economy of India.
Right. Also, how do you look at India's economic and investment ties in not just a country like Cyprus, but all the other countries, including Egypt and other countries which are seen as regional rivals to Turkey? Is this also an example of India putting its foot down strongly, diplomatically, that it will not take anyone who's supporting Pakistan very lightly on this?
Well, that is quite clear. India's stance on the global stage has been welcomed across the globe, and from powerful countries such as the US to Russia, which are rivals to each other, they both have good relations with India. So that goes on to show that India's long-held non-alignment policy has definitely changed over the past 10 years, but the fact remains that India has good allies across the globe, and it is establishing new relations, as you mentioned, in the same region of Mediterranean and the Arabian region. India has a lot of allies, be it Egypt or the new frontier of Cyprus. So this will establish India's foothold in the region to take on some of the powerful rivals, some of the new rivals actually, because Turkey also had good relations with India, but the recent wrongdoings of the regime of Turkey has resulted in almost severing of ties. Many companies of Turkey have been banned in India. Turkish airlines have been banned. Many Turkish holiday destinations have been banned. So these things have been going on. So it establishes that India has an ally in the region.
Vishal, also India has been expanding, diversifying its energy energy sources, and that makes Cyprus strategically important for us because of its natural gas reserves. Help us understand with the kind of tensions that this part of the world has seen because of Turkish drilling, how is India going to benefit with an enhanced bilateral relations with Cyprus?
Well, even though Cyprus is a tiny country near about Greece and Mediterranean Sea, it holds great significance because we've been continuously talking about the shipping routes it has, the natural gases, as you mentioned. So even though it's not bigger than the size of Uttar Pradesh if you have to have a comparison, but the strategic significance is large. In the same region, there are other regional powers. Turkey is one of the most powerful players probably the most powerful player in the region. So the fact that India will have now a key ally in that region will hold big significance for India's foreign policy and other matters, because in the recent past India has been quite active on the international forum. We've been talking about the delegations that have been sent by India across the globe. We've been meeting people, talking about various issues from terrorism to how to make the world economy better. So these things will also be in focus because India has been engaging with almost all the countries in the world and has been establishing new relationships.
Right.